We have we have a very, very cram-packed show tonight and a very serious issue to discuss with you, which we've discussed before, but the urgency of it now is even greater. Uh, there was an article, there is an article in New York Magazine. New York Magazine is a useless piece of trash that I never read. I haven't read this either. I've just read the article about it that's done by Lyle Leibowitz. Uh, there's a cover piece in New York Magazine making the case that New York is now a Habibi city. Now, this is an article, cover story, by Zaina Arafat. I don't think it's a relationship to the guy that I threw out of the UN who killed 27 Americans. But and also you should know that Zaina Arafat was born and raised in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. So this isn't some Middle East person coming here giving us the wisdom of the Middle East, if there is any. I think there's only one democracy in the Middle East, isn't there? Kind of shows you how retarded they are in terms of development. If you consider democracy being an indication of the worth of the human person, who therefore can have some choice and control over their government, and that it shows you a certain level of development as a human society, they are woefully missing in that category. I can't think of a democracy there. You correct me if I'm wrong, other than Israel. So Iran is obviously, but Syria, we kind of like the guy that took over, but he's a dictator, right? Jordan is a kingdom. Arafat, not Arafat, Dubai, Emirates, that whole thing, kings. Saudi Arabia is a royal family. Pretty hard. You want to make believe Turkey is a democracy? You got to really make believe. Erdogan is about as good an example of a dictator as you're going to get. He's also done pretty much made himself president for life. Pakistan, yeah, good shot. Yeah, Pakistan. No way. That's outside of the Middle East anyway. So there's one democracy there. And you want to compare the level of their civilization with ours? Doesn't the failure to have a democracy show they haven't arrived yet at the level of understanding and concern for the importance of the human being? Of course. Isn't a society that's evolved to the level of being a democracy a more humane, a more cultured, a more civilized, and a more educated society than one that allows itself to be governed as a dictatorship? Do we have to make these comparisons? Yet we get guys like Mondani and Syed and that hung woman who seem without any doubt to prefer the Middle East to America. And they want to destroy our form of government in order to impose on their retrogressive, retarded governments in terms of human development and humanitarian development. So Zaina Arafat identifies as SWANA. What the hell is SWANA? These are all new to me. This is an acronym that stood for the Solid Waste Association of North America, but now means Southwest Asian and North African, and represents anyone who is vaguely Middle Eastern and dislikes capitalism. Now, the strange thing is she doesn't come from the Middle East. She comes from the big swamp called Washington, D.C. She's a swamp dweller. But you can be designated a Swana, meaning Southeast Asia and North Africa, if you think like they think. Most important thing is you've got to dislike capitalism, hate America, and kick Jews around. And in this article of hers, New York, she is describing how New York is now a Habibi city and a full-on Swana enclave. I know. I didn't know what these meant either. Swana, the Habibi thing, I get. So in this article in New York Magazine, what does an average day look like in Habibi City? And here's what it is. There's a workshop for kids at a Lebanese bookstore dedicated to Middle Eastern culture. As I said, this is a culture that hasn't gone beyond dictatorship yet. So exactly how much value can it have when it doesn't consider human beings important enough to be able to govern themselves? I mean, the West has passed out a long time ago, like about 300 years ago. Then there's a fundraiser for Gaza so that they can continue to educate their children from the first time they get into school at 2, death to America and death to Israel, and to take the most orthodox version of the Quran and teach it as a firm commitment, meaning to wipe out the infidels in time for the coming. That's all from the Quran, by the way. So there's a fundraiser for Gaza at a woman-run Syrian supper club. Now, I don't know if they can take their veils off, or they're going to have to eat like this. But if they were over there, that's what, right? The veil. I mean, I've seen this in Paris. I've seen women in a Parisian restaurant with this thing over their head going like this. It's absurd. Arafat says she sees so much of this now in New York. So much of this Middle Eastern retrogressive behavior that she feels like she's in the blood. You know what that means? Back home. But our home is Washington, D.C. I mean, these people are consummate liars. Every lie possible to advance their idiotic views or their extraordinarily dangerous views. As Lyle points out, if Ms. Arafat, you want to wish to fill every moment of your day with swell Swana sensations, why not, go back to Swana and get the hell out of here? I mean, whatever we're doing, they got much more of it there. You got a lot more women walking around like this, right? And they're not going to do anything like let a little hair show, because they'll get executed. And if they should get pregnant, there's a good chance they'll be killed. If they get raped, they'll be held responsible for it. Yeah. And look at all the women that are governing Saudi Arabia. None. Oh, they're really advanced. Really advanced. You think there's a freedom of religion in Saudi Arabia? Well, you're out of your mind if you do. You think that's a human value? You think that the fact that a society and culture can get to the point of freedom of religion indicates it's advanced beyond one that hasn't? She won the 2021 Lambda Literary Award for bisexual fiction. You exist too much. So, what are they telling us? They're telling us that they want to destroy our government and our civilization, the core of it, and they want to bring us back in time to maybe 1,000 years ago. I mean, what? They're a desecration of the concept of immigration. Immigration, as Lyle Leibovitz points out, is all about making a better life for yourself and your family here in a place where you can do that, in comparison to where you were coming from. The places that the traditional American immigrants came from were a hell of a lot more advanced than the decrepit Middle East. People coming from Ireland and people coming from England and people coming from France and people coming from Italy were coming from societies not as advanced in terms of human rights and the development of the importance of the human being, but they were coming from places that were pretty darn advanced. This was just better. I don't know. He points out something that, of course, means a lot to me. He points out, Lyle Leibovitz does, about this horrible article that the whole concept of immigration was coming here and harnessing yourself to the great American engine of reinvention and of the concept of humanity that had reached the highest level. He says, and you may or may not agree with this, but it's an interesting proposition. It's why the greatest movie ever made about immigrants in New York, The Godfather, begins with the battle cry that for centuries quickened the pulse of every newcomer to this city. I believe in America. Remember? It's the first line. I believe in America. I think that's the baker who says that. I believe in America. Put aside whatever else The Godfather was about. That could have been said with an Irish brogue. That could have been said with a German accent. That could have been said with someone who had a Yiddish accent. In fact, these people had certain things in common, but not everything. What's the main thing they had in common? What did the Irish Catholics have in common with the Jewish Orthodox? I believe in America. What did the Italian immigrants have in common with the people from Russia who came? I believe in America. Isn't it true that this group of immigrants hates America? They don't believe in America. They want to change America. Their criticism of America are legion. I mean, do I have to shoot them off? I mean, They want to tear down our statues. They want to change our history books. They want to destroy our Supreme Court presidency, separation of powers. They want to change our religion. In the book, she recites a comment made to her by an actor, Ariane Moayed. Sorry, I've never seen this actor. I'm not even sure if Ariane is a man or a woman. And it's possible they're not either. But Ariane Moayed, with unveiled disgust, tells her how terrible it felt. Listen to this. To walk around Times Square in the aftermath of September 11th. Well, of course it did. In fact, most of us were crying at some point that day, for sure. And it brought us together, didn't it, as Americans? Not for Arafat and Ariane Moayed, because the thing that made her feel terrible was that everyone felt so patriotic. This is very serious, my friends. I'm reading this to you because it is about New York, and of course, I have a special love and dedication and knowledge of New York. But I don't know if they can do it. But they're trying to make New York into the same thing Dearborn is. Between 1977 and 1980, I spent a fair amount of time in Dearborn, Michigan, because I was representing Ford Motor Company, along with my partner and good friend Michael Mukasey, who later became a United States judge and the Attorney General. And we would go there often, sometimes together, sometimes with other groups, with associates that are working with us, because we were working on a very, very big case for Ford Motor Company. So I'd say I went there 7, 8 times. Dearborn. There was no sign at all of Dearborn being anything other than a very quite affluent, because of Ford Motor Company, right, you spent some time American suburb. And when I had time, I would go to watch the Detroit Tigers play the New York Yankees.
Well,
so we have Steve Gruber, who is the host of the Steve Gruber Show and the Forgotten America podcast. So, Steve, how are you?
We got to work on the audio.
Oh, we're good. How about now?
Now I hear him. Great.
There you go. I'm good, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, watching the elections of the last week or two, I mean, the major theme is, are we headed for a major political movement to try to make America, to change America, and to make it into a Middle Eastern culture, a Muslim culture, an Islamic culture? We see that in Dearborn for sure. We see it attempts in place unlikely Texas. I'm seeing it in my city of New York.
Sure.
New York is so big, it's hard to really flip it the way they flip Dearborn. But there are areas of New York where friends of mine for the last several years have told me it's like living in the Middle East. They get awakened in the morning at 5 o'clock with prayers being in Bay Ridge, and which used to be Italian and Irish sections. So when you see these candidates running with the positions that they're taking, they seem to just have a virulent hatred of America.
They do.
What's going on, and how do we combat it?
Well, let's talk about Dearborn for a second. You mentioned
Please,
Ford, an iconic brand. I mean, it's iconic America. And the other company that's headquartered in Dearborn that a lot of people don't realize is Carhartt. What's more American than wearing a Carhartt and getting in your F-150 and going to work like Americans do? I mean, that's what Dearborn is. Those two companies have headquarters there. It's a change. Abdul El Sayed and Hassan Piker, obviously, are people that find America to be vile. I find them to be vile, but they find America to be vile, and they want to change everything. They want to get rid of the Senate, the presidency. They want open borders. They want to get rid of police, get rid of prisons. Of course, they have no solutions to what happens at that point. But I'm going to say something about the Abdul El Sayed thing and what happened with Francisca Hong yesterday. Two things.
Yeah, please.
This is important for people to pay attention to. Abdul El Sayed, according to the polling, was anywhere from 12 to 15 points up going into primary day last Tuesday, the 3rd of August. He won by less than 1 point, right, against Haley Stevens. And I grant you that she was better financed, but that was not the takeaway. The takeaway is he got killed in Wayne County and Oakland County. She won him big. Those are the big communities with a lot of black voters. Black voters not buying this.
Right.
He went 0 for 15 in the poorest counties of Michigan, working class people, middle class people, 0 for 15. The same thing if you look at the Wisconsin map last night. They are winning college towns, but they're not winning the working Americans. They're not winning the people that actually like Thanksgiving and celebrate the 4th of July, right? They're not winning those folks. But more importantly, for the Democrat coalition, they're not winning black voters. This is a critical thing to pay attention to. And in fact, I just listened to and had on the woman who is the Detroit City Council president, who said Mike Rogers came to her in the last couple of days and said, hey, let's talk. Here's what we want to talk about. She liked him. That's the point.
No reason he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I've known Mike for years. We're friends. And he's going to do well. And there are others that maybe are not on the radar, but Michigan's 7th congressional district, you should pay attention to. It's the most competitive district, I'm told, in America. Michigan 7. It's where Alyssa Slotkin was before she became a senator by 0.3 of a point against Mike Rogers 2 years ago. Tom Barrett is there, freshman congressman, my congressman, another guy that's friends with me. He's actually, he's a great guy. He's actually in his grandfather's congressional office, which is kind of an interesting little historical note.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But the guy that won the Democratic primary for the 7th Congressional District is a guy by the name of Will Lawrence. He's 35 years old. He's a community organizer. The two normies that were in the race and endorsed by Whitmer and all the mainstream Democrats, if you will, finished 15 points behind him. He killed him. But the good news is this. I do not believe that Abdul El Sayed is electable statewide in Michigan. That's the point that I'm getting at here. Right. I don't believe that it's possible because working class people aren't going to buy it. The people, the voters in Wayne County and Oakland County aren't going to buy it. Macomb County is certainly not going to buy it, which is a big bellwether county, as you know, Mayor.
I remember these counties very well for a different reason.
Oh, sure.
2020. I remember them really well.
Well, right. And look, you saw what happened in Wisconsin last night. It wasn't just that the working class voters and the black voters turned their back on the communists. Let's just call them for what they are. They're communists.
Right.
But what about this shady deal in the middle of the night? Oh, gosh, we've got these 5 sticks that don't have any election results. We got to go back to the city of Milwaukee and get these refilled or whatever. And they come back. She was winning by a slight margin, but winning. And then all of a sudden, Crowley comes out on top. It's funny to watch. You watch the guy on NBC, MS Now, Kornacki, I guess his name is.
Yeah.
Basically having the most awkward television moment I've seen in quite some time. He's bent over. He's being like, well, how can this happen? Welcome to our nightmare of 2020, pal. I mean, really.
Crowley dropped out of the race.
Yeah, and then came back. Yeah.
Never heard of that before.
So Tom Tiffany.
Ross did that.
Tiffany's a good man.
He lost.
Yeah, I think Tiffany's a good man. I think that he has a very good chance. Even he would have had a better chance, obviously, with Hong. But I think Tom Tiffany is going to do very well because, look, you can't run. If you're a Democrat today, you cannot run from these people. It's a big tent. That's cool and all. But they walked into your tent, kicked the table over, and lit the tent on fire. You know, you have to live with this. I mean, Chuck Schumer's scared to death he's going to get primaried because he will. Hakeem Jeffries is going to get primaried because he will. These people are trying to make accommodations, and this appeasement, it didn't work prior to World War II. It doesn't work now in a political party that is completely on fire. Now, look, the Republicans, we have our challenges, right? We do. We have to turn out the vote. 40% of Christians don't vote. 40% of gun owners don't vote. 40% of people that hunt and fish like me don't vote. It's mind-blowing to me, Mayor, that the people that
What
be most impacted don't show up. Yeah.
That's how Mondami won. There was, if you look at the total percentage of the vote that he got, it was about 12% of the voters voted for him, but nobody voted.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think in Michigan, I do. We've got one of these ballot. The Save America Act is great, but California is going to do it on their own. So are about half a dozen other states. Michigan's going to have voter ID, which we already have in Michigan, but you have to have proof of citizenship. It's on the ballot this November in Michigan, California, half a dozen other states. If they can't get the SAVE Act through because Thune wanted another vacation along with all these other clowns, I wish I could take a month off. I'd be in Montana fly fishing right now.
It drives me crazy too.
It's just nutty. Look, you guys get nothing done. You get paid exorbitantly. You let's be honest. You're all padding your wallets. You go in there making $175,000 a year, and suddenly you're a multimillionaire. Trust me, this bothers everybody.
Yeah.
But on balance, in Michigan for sure, Abdul El Sayed not only helps Mike Rogers, and I do believe Mike Rogers will be the first senator elected in 32 years in Michigan.
Is that right? In 32 years?
The first time, yeah. Spence Abraham. Spence Abraham was the last Republican senator. Sure. Yeah, he was there for one term, and then Debbie Stabenow came in and beat him. Right? Debbie Stabenow, who was a backbench county commissioner here, somehow got through. Whatever. But I think Mike wins. I do. And I think Tom Barrett wins. I do because, look, Tom Barrett's a veteran military guy, good experience. He's been in the House and the Senate here in Michigan. He's a first-term member of Congress, and he's got a community organizer to go up against who is an actual member of the DSA. Look, do you think, let's talk about union people for a second. Union people who have fought for good health benefits, good dental benefits, good vision benefits, all this. You got all these benefits you fought for in your union, whether it's UAW or the IBEW, whichever, doesn't matter. Pick your union. You're going to say, hey, that's great. I'm just going to let the government take over these great benefits that I've got. I'm sure it'll work. No chance in hell.
Of course.
None. None. I mean, the union leaders can go ahead and say, we endorse, this communist. We had the rank and file union people all over the state of Michigan are voting for Republicans because they know the Democrats are going to steal their benefits, tax them higher, and send money to people that are sitting on the couch, or worse, opening a daycare center that has no children and making a couple $1 million a year, right?
Does this analysis apply equally to Wisconsin and Minnesota, or would you say it's stronger in Michigan?
It's stronger in Michigan because I do think you can call it whatever you want. They like to call it Islamophobia. I don't care what you call it. I think there's a pushback on this candidate.
They see the danger of having a community taken over and wanting to have its own system of law. There's nothing Islamophobic about that. That's protecting our democracy.
They changed all the street names in Dearborn, or a lot of them. You walk into the Home Depot in Dearborn, Michigan, it's all in Arabic. It's English and subtitle in Arabic. That's not my country, all right? Look, you come here, you want to assimilate, we'll welcome you. You want to assimilate, you want to be part of the deal, you want to roll up your sleeves. And look, we brought in Irish, English, North Koreans, South Koreans, people from all over this world, right? And they all find a niche. The Koreans, they go to work, they work hard. The Italians, they go to work, they work hard. Don't come here and rip us off. All right, don't come here, plant your flag. I mean, it's awfully hard for a person in Wisconsin to stomach the fact that they get up early and go to work every day, and they come home and they've got some new neighbor that doesn't speak English driving a Mercedes. That doesn't sit well with people. I mean, just be honest.
It's a very dangerous direction for our society. Can I just ask you which is driving this the most? The communist part, which is clear, or the dedication to trying to create an Islamic society?
I think Islam is proactively taking over that liberal agenda and using it to advance its agenda. And when they're done with it, they'll kick the socialists and communists out, even though Sharia is kind of socialist and communist. I mean, it is by nature, but it's a means to an end. Make no mistake, it's just a vehicle. They're a stepping stone. And these people are these young kids who have been indoctrinated to hate America by government schools since they were in kindergarten are too blind or dumb or both, because all they do is doom scroll on these stupid things. And they don't pay it. I mean, when you get your news from TikTok, Mr. Mayor, it's probably an issue. When Instagram is your news feed, that's probably a bit of a problem. People being enamored with communism. I mean, you ask 100 people that are under the age of 50, what was the great leap forward? They'll say, I don't know. You don't know that Chairman Mao killed 100 million of his own people, potentially. In the 20th century, the great leap forward was just nothing more than a great leap forward into a grave. Yeah. You need to educate people. When I was in school, we learned about Chairman Mao. We learned about Comrade Stalin. We learned about Castro. We learned about Pol Pot. So the problem comes back to the fact that our educational system was hijacked by a bunch of, Howard Zinn fans. Howard Zinn, who wrote a book of fiction about hating America, right? And then it sat on the shelves for about 10 years collecting dust, and then somebody picked it up, and then it got, propagated and spread out. Now, has America made mistakes? Sure. Andrew Jackson in the Indian Removal Act, terrible thing. Shouldn't have done it. All right, I get it. We made mistakes along the way. But that does not disqualify the entire nation for 250 years for being the best damn nation that's ever been on this planet, period, paragraph.
Yeah, and that used to be almost universal among our immigrants, that they came here with this great desire to be American, which meant they carried along their background and their culture, but they saw that America was a better way to live, a better
absolutely. I mean, you look at
yourself and your family.
The point, you look at immigrants that came here. I believe it all changed in 1965. I'll explain that in a second. But you look at the people that volunteered to go to World War II and Korea and so forth. A lot of those folks were immigrants that had come here, that believed in this country, and it was worth dying for because it was so much better than wherever it is they came from. But in 1965,
my grandfather and two of his sons.
There you go. But in 1965, they stacked the deck against us, Mr. Mayor, I believe. They gave us the Great Society, which was a great disaster, all right, because it's been, almost $30 trillion spent on the Great Society. We haven't really moved the needle on poverty. It shifted from elderly people to children. I don't think that's a win. But the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1965 stopped us from bringing in people based on meritocracy and bringing in people from Europe and developed countries, and we started bringing in people from third world countries. Well, if you bring in people that aren't willing to assimilate, that want to fly their own flag, whether it's a Mexican flag or a Somali flag, whatever it is,
right?
And they're no longer interested in. Do you realize that today in the Mexican Parliament has members that live in the United States because they believe this is their country?
Yeah.
They believe Texas and Arizona, New Mexico and Colorado and Utah and California are still theirs, even though we bought it.
Right.
We paid for it, and the Gadsden Purchase and all the things that we did, right? But there are members of the Mexican Parliament that don't live in Mexico. They live here.
Right. There are mayors and police chiefs in Mexico that live across the border, partially because they believe it belongs to them, and partially because they're too frightened to live in Mexico.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I used to like to go to Mexico. I wouldn't go there on a bet today. But here's the thing. Here's the question that I ask people lately. What's the biggest threat to America? Is it China? Is it communists? Is it radical Islam? Or is it deep state people that subvert the will of the American people? I mean, maybe it's all of the above, but some are probably more acute than others.
Yeah. I think the communist infiltration of this country was much deeper, much longer, much more effective than we ever realized until the last 8 or 10 10 years. I mean, they've been working on our education system for 40 or 50 years. They've been working on our media.
Well, the government school system, I think, was actually designed in the 1890s. And it's gotten progressively worse ever since.
It's the whole educational industry from the early K through 12 way up to the university.
Right.
That's overwhelmed by Marxists. Well, I've got to run. It was really fascinating. We're going to do a much longer. We're going to do a much longer interview. You're terrific.
Steve,
thank you.
Just real quick, Mayor, Steve is great. He's based in Michigan. He's one of the original political podcasters. This man has been doing it for a long time now. He's the best. And a quick shout out. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. A quick shout out to Ivy Gruber.
No trouble.
Steve's better half. And just want to say, I used to talk to him a lot more, but we got to stay in touch with them this fall, Mayor. Steve and Ivy are the best.
Well, we're going to visit when we come out there. Okay.
Thank you.
I won't go to a Tiger game, though.
Oh,
I won't go to, you know why?
Why?
The president of the Yankees, Randy Levine, who was my deputy mayor for a while.
Yeah.
I went to about 4 or 5 Tiger games. Oh, gosh. This was when they were, vying with the Yankees for the pennant. And the Yankees lost every single one of them.
Well, that's the way we like it. That's the way we like it.
They lost by scores like 12-2 and 14-0. So I get a call from Randy. Randy says, the boss says, when you go to Detroit, would you please not go to a Yankee? Go to some other game. Go see the Tigers play the White Sox or something.
You got to understand, Mr. Mayor, everybody hates the Yankees.
Everybody, except me and Trump. Okay, take care.
Thanks, Steve. We'll get him back on. That was great. He knows Michigan. I mean, he knows politics, right?
Yeah.
And so he's great. We'll stay in touch with him on this.
I think I got enough of an answer to really understand what I was trying to think about, and that is that in terms of where we're going to have the most success, it's going to go Michigan 1, Wisconsin 2, and Minnesota 3. Because, and I'll tell you why, Michigan has a very, very solid American working class. Working class meaning not only blue collar, but white collar working class. And so does Wisconsin. And Minnesota has always been more retrogressive. So I take the word progressive and flip it around, because the communists flipped it around. So let's take a short break and we'll be right back. Tunnels to Towers Foundation honors America's greatest heroes. Heroes like the dedicated public servant, Josh Bischoff. Josh began his firefighting career as a volunteer and quickly rose through the ranks to become CAL FIRE's Assistant Chief of Tactical Air Operations. Josh was driven by a deep sense of purpose and a passion for serving others. His leadership earned him great respect across the entire state of California and beyond that, until tragedy struck. And 2 helicopters collided while fighting a California wildfire. Josh was killed in the crash. He left behind his wonderful wife, Cheryl, and their 2 children, Derek and Juliana. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation paid the Bischoff family's mortgage immediately, lifting a financial burden and enabling Josh's family to focus on healing after unimaginable loss. Josh's family is committed to honoring his memory by living with the same drive, the same joy, the same patriotism, and the same purpose that he did. Honor and help heroes like Josh and their families who've sacrificed everything. Donate $11 a month. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this
pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. That was a tour de force by Steve on where we are and how we got there. It's a shame that we only had a fairly short period of time. That's worth an entire podcast or two, because he has a very good grip on how we got where we are. Many people don't. They see a number of the things that are happening to us. They wake up in the morning and say, oh my God, how could that be happening? What they don't see are the connections. These are all Marxist and Islamic extremist doctrine that's found a way to come together. And it's extraordinarily dangerous. And they're trying to take our rights away. They're trying to take our government away. They want to substitute a Neanderthal form of government for this highly advanced human society. So let's keep an eye also on China. Because as we watch all of this, are we getting weaker or stronger with regard to China? A lot of people feel we've used too many weapons and we don't have enough weapons. The other side to that is it is a very big difference to be war ready and to be war theoretical. China right now, as far as I can tell, has a general staff that's never been to war. War is a game, an exercise. For America, war has been a reality almost, since 1941, and we probably have the most prepared military in the world. That gives you an advantage of immense proportions. In any event, it's good to see that the president has really awakened a lot of our allies. People in Taiwan are complaining that President Lai Ching-te is making them prepare too much for a Chinese invasion. Thank you, President. People in my administration used to get angry at me because we used to do so many exercises to prepare for a terrorist attack. Even I thought maybe we're doing too many. I didn't think that on September 11, did I? In fact, I thank God that we did it. And I thanked a couple of my people who pushed me to do it. So that's a good thing to see. And it's a good thing to see how an alliance is beginning to really strengthen. And I think it should be formalized in China a NATO type alliance with what could be superpowers like Japan and India, and of course Taiwan and South Korea. Necessary because China is doing everything to try to destroy us. They have a leaking industry, which is a weakness, thank goodness. China is so closed, and China, being the second largest economy in the world, has such an impact on the economy that getting leaks from China is worth its weight in gold because it's such an opaque system. And in fact, it almost seems like Xi Jinping's crackdown on corruption is endless.
Right.
The more he cracks down on, the worse it gets.
Yes.
He has, according to the Wall Street Journal, since he began his crackdown, he's disciplined more than 7 million people.
Wow.
For taking bribes, defying policies, and divulging secrets since 2012 on. Now, they like to say only a small number of officials do it. That's a lot to have caught because you're not going to catch most of them. And it keeps getting worse. And now it's become an industry. They get paid for it. I mean, getting information out of China, as I said, is worth its weight in gold, both economic for investing and betting with all of these prediction markets they have, and then for national security reasons. And please be aware of the fact that when you see this big effort against data centers, nobody wants to have a data center in their neighborhood.
Right.
China is financing that. That's a Chinese propaganda effort. Of course, there are people who believe that themselves, but by and large, that's orchestrated by China. That is no doubt about that. And I'm going to give you another one that I think is orchestrated to a very large extent by China, even though this is a little harder for them to sell. The whole idea of open AI. America has become convinced that we have to close AI in order to make it more secure. But in doing that, we close out the world. And China is catching us because most of the rest of the world now is thinking China rather than America because we put so many restrictions on. And it was interesting to see Zuckerberg raise this. I don't think I've ever agreed with Zuckerberg. But China is enormously skillful in moving its agenda. And do we have our guest with us?
We don't, and I'll explain that in a little bit, Mayor. So, of course, this is an interesting topic and something that we want to stay on top of. I don't want to name our guests. I don't want to embarrass anybody here, so we're gonna have to reschedule.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. That's a note I passed.
Oh, I didn't look at the note because I was so interested in what I was saying.
Which is important. Isn't
that egotistical?
No, I figured, and it makes sense, right? A lot of folks still think we film 7 to 9. So when I say, okay, we can do 5:40 p.m. Eastern, I did say Eastern.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of folks are on the West Coast.
I still get confused. So.
Yeah. But we'll get her on real soon.
I understand it completely. I also want to spend a little time, and I
gives us some
giving great credit to
Caroline.
Pardon me?
To Caroline.
To Caroline. Yeah, she. I thought even though she was very young when the president selected her, because I had watched her as a candidate here in New Hampshire, where she didn't win, but she was extraordinarily impressive. And haven't been too many Republicans that have won for federal office in the last 20 years here. Strangely, they dominate the local offices. I believe that Governor Ayotte has a veto-proof legislature of Republicans.
Right.
Meanwhile, we don't have a single Republican representing New Hampshire in Congress. Yeah. There's the beautiful
and she's
Caroline
from right up here.
Leavitt.
I text her every once in a while about what we're doing up here, Mayor.
And so when she got selected, of course, there was a concern that she was very young. That's a brutal. I mean, she has a job that has given people nervous breakdowns. There are people that had to leave after 3 or 4 months because they couldn't take it.
Right.
And I, having worked in and out of the Reagan White House a long time ago, and having lived pretty much in the Trump White House when I represented him, I can tell you, increasingly, the press secretary or communications director, whoever the person is that takes the main role of interacting with the press every day, that is a brutal job. Somehow it's even harder for the communications director than it is for the principal. So I used to do a lot of that myself, the way in the first term the president did a lot of it himself.
Right.
And but I have to tell you, it's easier to do it yourself because you're going to know. Hopefully, you're going to know what you want to say. And whereas the press secretary or the communications director has to be extensively briefed on where the president is going, and also has to be able to field where the president might divert. And let's face it, we have a president that makes up his mind and changes it for the good of the country. I thought it was brilliant in his first term that they moved the press conferences later in the day and eventually left it to him. Remember all the times he would meet on the lawn when he was headed out to the helicopter? No press secretary would brief on that day. Reason is, by the time you got to 5 o'clock, by the time the press secretary held the press conference at 11, everything changed. The news, even the most important news items changed because the president works all day. This isn't like, the Politburo of Biden, or even Obama and Bush, who didn't have press conferences for 10 months or 11 months. Obama once went 10 months without a press conference. You'd think he was good at press conferences like Kelly was. The guy couldn't get through a sentence without 4 O's. He needed the damn things to tell him what to say. One of the most overrated things is the guy's quick on his feet intellect. It's orchestrated. So he depended completely on a press secretary to communicate for him. And so did Bush, for that matter. So even Clinton, who was a great speaker, didn't have the number of press conferences that Trump has. Now, in the first term, he almost superseded the press secretary. He was doing the briefing. Here, you get both. You have her doing the briefing, and you have the president almost every day doing a press conference. And she's got to be very, very careful because she's interpreting him. And as I said, he changes on the fly. She has been fabulous, much better than I thought she would be. And I was in favor of giving her a chance because I saw a lot of talent in her as a candidate. But I also recognized the objections of people to the fact that she was young and maybe she should have a more subordinate role and grow into that job. Well, from the moment she took over, you could tell she's just a natural. I'm also very impressed with how well prepared she is. This is not just a person who has an enormous skill at with words and language.
Yes,
but no real wisdom, which you would think, particularly for a young person. It amazes me how substantive her briefings are, which means to me this woman is staying up late at night studying. She's done a super job. I'm sure somebody can go pick out something she did wrong or something she did. I don't even remember what it is. I don't know what she did wrong. If she did, it was easily forgotten and remedied. I think she's done that job in a way that you could put it up as an example of how the job should be done. And I don't know who he's going to pick or who he's going to get, but I wouldn't want to follow her.
Right.
I wouldn't want to follow her. And I also understand completely what she's doing and why she's doing it. First of all, this is about as long as a press secretary or press. I keep saying press secretary because that's what they, go back to Pierre Salinger. That's what they were, press secretary. Now they're the communications director and the press. But it's the person who briefs the press. That's the critical person, because that's the person who's in the lion's den, right? They're in the Coliseum. Doing battle with the numerous lions, not just one. And in the Trump era, in which every single one of them has been very, very good, she's been the best. So all the rest don't get angry at me. But maybe she had the benefit of watching what they did and making improvements on it. Because in essence, if you look at his press, they sort of kept getting better. I didn't think it could be better than McEnany or the governor. They were terrific in the first term.
Right.
She's certainly as good. I maybe better, smoother.
The best. We're biased.
Yeah,
I'm biased for sure.
No, I'm not. I don't think I am biased.
No, you're not biased. Sorry. Yeah, you're not at all, Mayor. You're speaking directly. You're right.
So the president's got to do a lot of thinking about replacing her. It's going to have to be an enormously talented, charming person who knows how to handle this kind of stress and take it all down. Her extraordinary good looks, of course, help. She always looks like the girl, the most beautiful girl next door. She has that beautiful sort of very clean-cut look. Helped, in my case, that she always had a cross displayed, because it's so important that we get God back into America. We're going to miss her. But I understand that this period of time coming up right now would have been impossible for a young mother. Think about it. When the White House is in normal mode, which is never, ever normal, you're going to be in Washington most of the time. And even when the president travels, one of the other press secretaries could travel with him. But when you're in an election season, which is starting right now, presidents can be on the road half to 3/4 of the time. And he's going to be, presidency moves with him. And his main communication has to be with him. So when does she take care of the baby? It had to be a consideration. I haven't talked to her about it, but I mean, it's so obvious. It's just obvious. So thank you, Caroline, for all that you did for my good friend, the president, on a personal basis. And as an American, thank you for what you've done for our country. And you'll do plenty more. I know the president values your judgment. And to the extent that you can, you're going to be a very, very important part of our surprising everyone and coming out of 2026 stronger than we went into it. Because that's so necessary to the survival of our republic and our way of life. And you get it, 100%. I get asked many, many times, what's happened to Tucker Carlson? There's an article by Rod Dreher, who has a long relationship with him, and had a great deal of admiration for him. And he very carefully analyzes, is it fair to say that he's anti-Semitic? Is he just anti-Israeli policy, or is he anti-Semitic?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what he concludes. I'm going to ask you to read it. You can get it online. The way to get it is we'll just put in Rod Dreher, D-R-H-E-R, and it's in several places. Tucker Carlson's anti-Semitism. So take a look at it. It's important. And it's important, like we acknowledge the major effort and the strides that they've had of those who want to destroy our country, that we understand the growth of anti-Semitism and Jewish hatred in this country, because I do think the two things are connected to each other. Not saying that Carlson is part of it or not. Let you read the Dreher article, and then we'll go over it tomorrow. We played a little bit of a role in this. You may remember some time ago when he interviewed Fuentes, meaning Tucker Carlson. I minutely analyzed that interview, and from the point of view of historical fact and correct religious theory, because they were making it up to suit their conclusions. And this was more about Hitler than it was about anti-Semitism. But take a look at this. Also recognize, now, Tucker has become a bit of an admirer of Putin and the Russians.
Right. Yeah.
And he claims, of course, all the time to follow his religion. Well, doesn't he know that the Russian church has been captured by the dictator Putin and completely destroyed and humiliated? The patriarch of Russia is a puppet of Putin. He's not a religious man. He's written articles arguing that Putin's slaughter of the Ukrainian people is a holy war. In what respect is it a holy war? You might even agree with Putin saying, I had to do it to defend myself against NATO. But there's nothing holy about it. He's not spreading religion. He's not spreading religion. We'll have to call back at some other time. He's not spreading religion. He's not spreading morality. He's not spreading democracy. He's not spreading. What he's doing is he's trying to capture a country in which he made an agreement that they would be free. They would be free. And as a result of that, they gave up their nuclear weapons to him, and he promised not to invade them. And even if they want to join NATO, it might threaten him, but why don't they have a right to do that? They're a free country, aren't they? If they feel they're safer joining NATO than not, or joining the EU, he has a right to go in there and kill thousands of them. So the guy who wears his religion on his sleeve, Tucker Carlson, is defending a man who has completely defiled an ancient and beautiful rite of the Christian church, the Russian Orthodox. He's destroyed it. It's not a religious organization anymore. It's an agent of the Russian government, much the same way that it was under communists. Except in some ways, the communists loosened up on it after a while. He's cracked down on it, and then Patriarch Kirill spends most of his time with his nose up Putin's ass. That's not a patriarch. That's a heretic. It's the reason why the patriarch in Constantinople, who is the titular head of all of the Orthodox community, allowed the Ukrainian Orthodox Church to break off from Russia. Appropriately so. Meanwhile, he doesn't deal with any of this, doesn't discuss any of this and basically tells you how Putin is a lot more justified than people believe. It's extraordinary, given his views as a younger person about communism. It's extraordinary. But not that I know, not that I have a facile or easy answer to what's going on, but I do think it's important to look at, because it is part of the infiltration that we have going on, not just in our country, not just in our institutions or other institutions, but even within our own political party and political movement.
Right. Good. Yeah.
There's a the race for governor of New York is getting closer. Bruce Blakeman is behind Kathy Hochul right now by 10 points. And this is the Siena College poll, which I can tell you is pretty darn accurate. And this is a closer poll than even Lee Zeldin had when he was running against her, and he ran one of the best races a Republican has run in quite some time, since George Pataki. Now, there are some major, I went to the internals of the poll. There are some major obstacles in the poll itself, built into the poll. But that they also may be the places where he has to concentrate if he wants to have a chance. She has a 45-point lead in Mondami's New York, 64-19. Traditionally, to win New York, it used to be thought that a Republican had to be at 30% in New York City. Now, Pataki did it by being at about 24 or 25%. And that might still be the right number. But here's the difference. Right now, for some reason that completely baffles me, they're even in upstate New York. Blakeman is leading by 8 points in the suburbs, but he's even in upstate New York. That should not be the case. Pataki won by wiping out Cuomo in the suburbs and particularly in upstate New York. That makes up, since New York City accounts for about, 40% of the vote, you got to disproportionately do well in the suburbs, and then you got to rack up in upstate New York. I win it by 20%. Win the suburbs by 10, win upstate by 20, and try to get New York City to 30%, a 70-30 split. You might even get away with a 75-25 split. If you make it up in the upstate and in the suburbs, then your turnout is better. But right now, the single most dangerous part of this poll for Bruce is that they're even in upstate New York. He doesn't, and he should be at double digits in the suburbs, but he's close there. He's at 8 points. And I think he's comfortable there since he's the enormously successful county executive, which is like the mayor of Nassau County, which after all is about 2 million people. So that's a substantial, that's certainly a position that qualifies you to be governor. And he's done an unbelievable job in that position. So if I were running his campaign, I'd be looking at what the hell's wrong in upstate New York? How do we fix that? Now that there's a traditional reluctance of people in upstate New York, and I analyzed this really closely when I several times thought of running for statewide office to New Yorkers. Now he's really not a New Yorker in the sense that he's from usually that doesn't run to the suburban candidates. It's usually like the mayor of New York, like me. Although given a lot of oddities of the situation. I ran very well in upstate New York, but not probably it was something I would have to have worked on to really get it up to the numbers that it should be if you really want to win safely. But I was always leading. And it's even, and somehow he's got to get those numbers to make up for, let's say, a 50-point deficit in New York City or 45-point deficit in New York City. Gonna have to get both of them. He's got to get the upstate one up to about 20% lead, and he's got to get the suburb to about 15. Is it possible? Of course it is. He's got the issues to flip upstate New York.
Bruce.
Now, the thing going on is she comes from upstate New York and he comes from downstate. But in this age that we're in of them wanting to try to destroy our government and her basically empowering Mondani, who really is running the party in New York, not her. She does everything he wants because she's afraid of him. He should be running against Mondani in Syracuse and in Rochester and in Buffalo, which could go Democrat or Republican. But they don't like a guy like Mondani in Buffalo. I assure you, he wouldn't do well at a Buffalo Bills game, even though she comes from Buffalo. There'll be a lot of people in Buffalo who are not happy with her. She's been a terrible governor, among other things. And the state is in terrible shape. No, I don't know that there's a governor that's lost more New Yorkers than Hopel Hopel, whatever the hell her name is. Well, we're learning a lot more of what's going to happen in 2026. Or are we? I think we are. I think we can start seeing the themes. We can start seeing the chances that people have. We can start seeing the ones that are going to be very difficult to turn, and the ones that can be easier to turn, and the ones that are. And we'll keep you informed as to all of that. And I do think, although everyone says this whole election is about cost of living, affordability, every election is always primarily about that. I do think the fear, legitimate fear, of maybe the strongest effort yet by a political party since the Civil War to destroy our form of government has got to, excuse the use of the word trump that. And the art of running a good campaign is to first see if you can impose the issue on the that you want on the election. And you got a few weeks to test that. And then if not, you go back to the issue that is the one that all popular wisdom would move you toward. But I try to get this around to America's voting to save their republic, to save their way of life, to not become Dearborn, Michigan. I'd show them pictures of Dearborn, Michigan all over the place. And if you call me an Islamophobe, I'd say, no, I'm an American. They're the ones that hate America. Oh, you see an American flag there? You see any women who I can see their face? You're getting angry at me because I don't want that for America. That isn't Islamophobia. That's preserving the greatest culture and civilization and country the world has ever known. And they're trying to take it away from us. And you're a fool if you don't realize it.
Right.
I think that'd take you to about 20 points in upstate New York. I know upstate New York, and I'm telling you, they're not. Pictures of Dearborn, Michigan is not what they want for Syracuse, New York. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for listening in tonight. God bless the people of Israel and the people of Iran and the people of Ukraine Pray for us because we're in a struggle for our survival. Ask God for his help and ask him to please keep guiding our great president. And remember, you're very fortunate to be here. The beginning words of the Godfather, which hardly should be something we use for positive purposes, because it's about gangsters and whatever. But you gather wisdom wherever you can. I believe in America. Maybe that should be something that everybody should have to do before they become an American. I really believe the test should be: do you love America? Otherwise, we shouldn't make you a citizen. Go somewhere else. We don't want people that just like us. We want people who love us.
Right.
And we sure as hell don't want people who hate us. And boy, we got plenty of them. Sounds like the whole Democrat Party either hates us or are afraid to stand up for us. I don't know which is worse. Well, I know which is worse. You do too. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.